Hey guys, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I am with Liz Trotter. This is Smart Business Moves. Our special guest today is our good friend Matt Ricketts. Hey Matt, how are you?
I'm awesome. Having a great day.
Yay. Good to
We
hear,
are
Matt. Good to hear.
rocking. You know, I feel energized because, we didn't work yesterday. I didn't do a doggone thing yet. Well, that's not true. But we didn't do Smart Business Moves.
Fighting live on Facebook. It did feel weird, didn't it?
Yeah. And,
I kept feeling like I was forgetting something, that I did have a little bit of anxiety thing going on.
And I usually have people hitting me up in the afternoon, and then they start apologizing. Oops, I'm sorry. You got Smart Business Moves. And I wasn't saying anything. It's like,
Yeah. I ran into a little bit of that too. So I was happy to have it happen, but it did feel, it was a little nerve wracking. I have to say it was a little nerve wracking. Did it? Okay, who's on here? Is Denise on here? I can't wait for her to get on here. Where is she? Oh, I hate when sometimes it shows my comments and sometimes it doesn't.
I don't see her here yet.
Not yet. All right. So before she gets here, how long before she says something about Tom's haircut? Just who wants to guess? 30 seconds. She shows up. Bam. She's
Is there
on.
something
Tom
wrong
got a
with the haircut?
Yeah. You know, Denise, she notices everything.
Well, this is true.
She notices everything. She will be on it.
One of the things that we need to be talking about sometime, and not today because Matt's going to be helping us with sales and what I think to be kind of a unique perspective on some of the important parts of sales. But I'll let I'm not gonna jump the headline on that. I'll let Matt get into all of that. But this whole wage thing and wage.
It's Linda's birthday. Sorry. Linda's
Hey,
here.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Wait.
birthday. Oh, Tom's going to grab his hat. I should go grab my hat too. All right, I'll grab my hat.
I don't have any props. Hey, TJ. How are you, man? I have no props. I feel left out.
That's okay, ma'am. You do this long enough, you will. Because you guys got the territory.
I don't know if I could do a weekly web show, let alone one you guys did every day for like a business
day. Only a year, Matt. It was only a year.
Yeah, a year.
There you go. Yeah. There you go, Linda. We also have Trisha's birthday today, too. We have two people in growth have birthday today.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Hey, Robin.
So we really need to do a deep dive about what's happening in the labor market. And we've been having some discussions, behind the scenes, but I think there's a whole lot to unpack there, and where wages are and where wages are going, and how it's so much bigger than just wages. Basically, it's the needs and expectations of the workforce. And I'll go as far as to say that we do business in various parts of the country, and we kind of lament over how some parts of the country, the labor market is just different, and they just don't want to work the way they do in the rest of the regular country. And I guess what I'm seeing is that is coming to all of us, that it's not just in isolated pockets anymore. That's the new normal. That's part of the new normal.
I agree. I think that we should have been paying better attention and recognizing that that's the trend. We just were recognizing that it was the beginning of a trend.
Yeah, really. It was like, well, I don't really want to deal with that. So but no, we should have, in retrospect, we should say, okay, we got to solve this problem because it's a problem we're going to have to solve everywhere.
But Tom, you mean you made a mistake? You're not perfect?
I didn't. Well, no, God knows I'm not perfect, but I do kick myself when something obvious is staring at me and I don't see it, and I certainly missed that one.
Well,
I think a lot of people think you're perfect, so I like that you're pointing out that you're not.
Well, for those of you who work with me on a more close basis, know the reality there is quite a bit different.
So we were all partners in Portland. We should all be well prepared for what's going on now. So
Yeah.
it feels a little bit Portland-esque about, some of the demands people are making as they walk in the door. And, I had somebody yesterday, maybe we should have been more sensitive to the fact she only works 25 hours and asked to go part-time. We kind of weren't as sensitive as we could have, and she quit on us, and she brought her friend with us, so we lost 2 employees over it. I think we all need to probably have a little bit more appreciation for the fact that people are a little more sensitive to those things. I mean, I have a meeting tomorrow with my staff where I'm going to probably say, some of the kind of military style rule that I've kind of applied across the business from my airline days just can't, those really tight, rigid rules just aren't going to apply as much anymore. We're going to have to rethink some of the things that we do. So I'm right there with you. I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
I do think we're going to still have to have a structure that we follow, and there are still going to be parameters because people are really just hardwired for expectations. So I think we will have to do that, but they're going to be different. Oh, they're going to have to be much more lax. We're going to have to be more flexible than we've ever been.
Yeah. Instead of these are the hard and fast rules, no exceptions. It's kind of like, well, this is the framework. And if we can work within inside of the framework, we can find win-wins.
Yep.
Now, we've got some work to do to figure out how to do that. But, it's not a matter of if. I mean, it's do that or, I don't think that we're going to be competitive as an industry or players within the industry if we can't figure that out, because the world as we knew it pre-COVID from a workforce standpoint, and that's just rearview mirror stuff. It's never going to be the same.
Yeah, I was on a one-on-one coaching call today, and this business wants to make some significant changes to the way they're doing business, but they weren't focusing in on the employee portion. And we had to do a quick, you need to be thinking about this for the next year. This is going to be a hot topic, and it's never going back to the way that it was. So we all need to be starting there. Yeah. It needs to be the first thing that we're looking at.
Yeah, and I actually think even about this, I'm here to talk about sales today, but a lot of that is selling jobs that are priced well enough that you can pay your employees a wage that's competitive. I mean, we can dive into some numbers in my software later on if people have questions, but I average out over $19 per hour per employee, and it's that's from clock in to clock out. We pay pretty darn well, yet I still maintain high profitability. And that's because I sell my jobs that I'm averaging out almost $70 per hour. I don't have that as my advertised rate. Like I don't tell people what we charge per hour. I don't even have that. We're just selling the jobs to make as much profit as we can and looking to get rid of jobs that aren't profitable so we can pay our people more.
And we've got more work we know what to do with, and we're going out with another round of rate increases. And we've got people that are getting rate increases that it's been 6 months since they've had their last one. And in the increase letter, we're letting them know that this might not be the last one we're getting this year, that in order for us to be the service that you trust, the service provider that you want us to be, and in order for our team members to be the employer that they want us and need us to be, this is necessary. And all we're doing is just reacting to the reality of the post-pandemic world, the new reality.
Yeah. Well, we're not the only ones. I mean, everybody is used to it. And what hasn't gone up? We were just talking about it. Gas has gone up, what they say, 2.9% in month over month. Everything's going up. I know in my brother's business, their lumber, one of their lumber packages has gone up 400%. So they're dealing with a lot of inflation.
lumber is just off the charts.
Yeah.
So Matt, so the topic at hand, we will dive into this whole labor situation thing maybe as early as next week. I don't know. I mean, that's a possibility, right?
I actually think so. I actually think it ties into a little bit what we're talking today. We could probably do some follow up with it. I actually think sales and fulfillment are actually related to labor issues. And if we don't have time today, I'm happy to come back next week and we can talk about how they interact by again making sure you're selling jobs that are as profitable as possible to get people paid as well as possible. So I think we are in a period of really shifting thinking about how you price jobs and how you think about paying your people. So yeah, we can do some follow up on that if we just don't have enough time today. So do you want to just dive into this and kind of?
Yeah, we do. Robin has a question about when you pay $18 an hour, are techs using their cars or benefits in the 18?
That's just direct labor, Robin. That's just it's about 19. That's not even including tips either. So like another $1.60 per average in credit card tips that I collect through my thing. So my techs actually probably make closer to $22 an hour by the time they get cash tips and credit card tips. I don't know. I stay out of the cash tips, but that's just direct labor and against about 36% payroll to revenue. So I still run a very profitable operation. So again, just direct revenue based on paying people percentage.
Because when you're managing, the productivity and scheduling in a way where it's efficient and generating the right amount of revenue per technician per day, you can pay those wages.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm looking for customers, to replace I fired a $13,000 a month customer because when I tried to give them a price increase, I got a lot of pushback, and I gave them 30 days notice. And it's scary, but I'm like, that's 3 employees that I can deploy that I can make $18,000 a month with versus $13,000 a month. That's $5,000 additional that I wouldn't be able to get because they're tied up in a job that's not as profitable. So
how do you price your initial deep cleans, Matt? Susan wants to know.
I shoot for 75 an hour at least, like is what we want to generate on our initial deep cleans.
Flat rate or range?
We give a flat rate, but what we tell people, we price them high enough that actually we usually are more than 75 an hour, to be totally honest. And I'm not selling any one-time jobs at all right now. I'm only selling to people that are booking recurring service. And if they book recurring and they book either weekly or biweekly, I give them a discount on that first cleaning, but only if they book weekly or biweekly, not for monthlies. And again, we're shooting to, before any discounts, to be averaging about 75 per hour.
Cool.
Awesome.
So you want to share your deck?
Yeah, it's just down below. Just click on it and it should be available. There it is. Yep. All right. So when I think about sales is definitely related to fulfillment because they kind of drive each other, right? If you have good sales, you can easily go out of business quickly if you don't fulfill your promises. And
how do you define fulfillment?
Meeting customers' expectations, whether that's the time you promised them, the team you promised them, the notes that they have on their job, the rooms that they have, things like detailed notes on, pets and anything really. I mean, getting to their house on time, like by having a good system to have directions and, send them to the right place and, the right keys and all that's fulfillment. And then making sure that their expectations are met and that they give you a good score at the end of that would be fulfillment. And then to really the real goal is to make them stay longer as a customer, because if you lose customers out the back, right, what does that cost you? So for me, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Let me go to the next slide here. But the goal is, see if it'll click through.
So basically fulfillment is just doing the work.
Yeah.
Getting it done, making it happen. Whatever the client thinks they're paying for, you're giving that to them.
getting it done. And Tom and I use the term scope of work, and making sure that the scope of work that they are expecting is completed as they expect it, with who they expect it, if they have requests. So, and that's kind of the idea here. But so the for me, selling jobs is really just, the bare minimum, right? So this is an iceberg. Most of us are all very concerned with booking jobs, scheduling homes, getting your technicians scheduled, cleaning homes, and then what's missing on here is getting paid, right? So that's what most of us are focused on with sales, right? But for me, my goals are to improve productivity, right? So make sure that I'm hitting the target time that is set, right? And not going over that time. In fact, maybe even being a little under that time, maybe not a whole lot, but again, I want to be above 100% productivity, to be totally honest, of what I've quoted and what my employees are doing. Improve efficiency. Efficiency is two things. It's how well you schedule your technicians by having them, have low drive time, no wasted time between jobs. But it's also how they use their time. Are they taking wasted breaks, things like that? So efficiency is how well do they use their time during the day, and how well do you schedule them? And that can definitely cost you a lot of money if you aren't efficient in your scheduling and how they use their times. I'm very concerned with improving the lifetime value of a customer, because, if you're losing a lot of customers at the back, your lifetime value of a customer decreases dramatically. So me and Liz have talked about this before. I used to benchmark my churn at 3% a month, and I worked really hard over the last couple of years to get it down to 2%, which increased my lifetime value of a customer from around $8,000 or $9,000 to $15,000. So I can spend more money on marketing to get more customers. I make more money longer on that customer, right? So all of my sales, when I talk about fulfillment is really about really getting that customer to stay as long as possible, right? And spend as much money as possible with me, because the sale doesn't end with the sale. The sale ends every time you do a job for that customer. Like, that's a new sale every single time, and making sure that they stay. And that's what fulfillment is. It's not just that first job. It's keeping those promises over the long time. So my philosophy for my business is to be consistently delightful, but that word consistent is very important to me. So then lowering loaded direct payroll to revenue. So making sure that the jobs that we're doing are those most profitable jobs, and making sure that I stay in those ranges that I want to be at. Because if I'm doing jobs that are exceeding that, I'm not making as much money on each one of those employees' times, and I can't pay my people as much. The next thing is lowering operating expenses. That's a function of some other metrics, but it's on the slide, so we'll go with it. But everyone focuses on these elaborate mousetraps for their marketing and sales, and it's really not about that, right? It's consistent follow-up and fulfilling promises. So simple, predictable, consistent processes are better than complex mousetraps. And I mean things like Infusionsoft. They're great, but if it complicates your business, if it doesn't talk to your other software, then it's a mousetrap, and it's just creating friction to delivering great service. Now, you need a follow-up process, and if that is Infusionsoft or whatever it is, that's great. But don't let the complexity of what you're doing dictate what you're really trying to do, which is be consistent. Okay.
What I hear you saying there, Matt, is that sometimes we lose sight of what the true goals are, which would be to generate, profitable revenue, because we kind of get lost within building the mousetrap.
Yeah, I'm a tinker at heart. I remember having this game as a kid, and I loved building these elaborate mousetraps, and that's how I kind of felt about Infusionsoft. I'd be like, oh, if I do this when a customer quits, and I market to them for a year, I might get back some of those customers, and it's pretty awesome if I could get 3 back a year. But here's the thing, I did the numbers on it, and basically, if we were losing about 20 customers a month with when we were at our full largest size, 18 customers a month at 2%, when we were like pretty good size before pandemic. Over the course of the year, we would be churning out like, that's probably too high. Maybe it's 15 customers a month. But either way, the number would be like we would have a chance to maybe interact with about 180 customers over the course of the year. We'd get back 6 of them. It's 3% or less. It just wasn't worth all that building and tinkering to get back 6 customers. And that's at a pretty large size. So there's other ways to do that, like Facebook marketing or some other things that are less interactive.
There's an economic term called opportunity cost, which is basically what return off of your investment were you getting, and could you have spent the same amount of time engaged in other activities that would have created more value? And a lot of times, yes.
Yeah, and I think there's other ways to do it. There's you can use your Facebook marketing to pixel, old customers. You can do some other things that are less apt to breaking, less apt to needing, interaction between 2 different systems. So again, keep it simple, keep it reliable. That's more important to me. You do want to have a lead magnet on your site. Now that doesn't have to be like a report. For most of our consumers, it's just, they want to know how much, what it costs, right? Like they've already probably decided to do business with you based on reviews or other things online. They found you. Now you got to give them a compelling reason to give you their information. So, it could be instant price, get a quote, book now, but make it easy for them to call you as well. Have your phone number out there and available for them. I feel like that is something that a lot of the new websites kind of overlook, is that a lot of consumers still want to call you. I use this get instant price as our lead magnet, and it captures our lead, and you want to make it as simple as possible. Long form captures cause friction. So if you have like this big form that pops up, they're not going to fill that out. Like even this might be too long, right? This is 5 fields. That might be too long. There's actually a lot of thought that maybe just the email address is all you should be asking for, and then it opens up a 2-step form. What do you think, Tom? Like, is 5 fields too much? Would that be friction for you?
No, I think that's about right. I wouldn't go any further than that. But I mean, there are a lot of people that would argue that for every additional piece of data you ask for, you're going to lose some amount of the traffic.
Yep. I don't know what that number is. I've read studies and things like that, but I agree. Like
you got to balance it with, what value do you get with that extra piece of data? Don't ask questions that aren't going to create value, but having somebody's first name without having an email address doesn't help you much. So it's you have to at least get some basic contact info.
Exactly. So that's kind of the thoughts on this. So
we have some questions too, Tom. Are you seeing them and waiting, or?
We'll get to this. This will be kind of like the next slide after this, Susan. So
okay.
Yeah. So then sell online. You're done. No, I'm just kidding. You really need to consider this to your process though. Almost 50% of our sales are now completed online. And this really takes a lot of time off of our back office support. And actually people pay more than when they call us. And, because we price it a little higher online because we don't have all the variables that we would necessarily get if they were to call us on the phone. So really consider this into your process. You're not done when this happens though. I'm just kidding. So make sure that your leads are coming into a CRM. It'd be ideal if it's going directly into it from your website. This is critical so that you can create reliable and repeatable processes. And that gets to your next point, Linda, which I believe is contact your leads fast. All right. So consider automating some of this, but whatever you do it fast. So immediately through the CRM I use, which is Made Central, an email gets sent out, or you could send out a text immediately. Now, I don't like sending out text I actually like humans to send out text. I don't like automated text. So I actually don't use any text automation because I just feel like it always feels like it's from a robot. And even if
you're talking about the sales process. Now there's other things such as reminders and so forth that you would.
Those I do. Those I do automatically. Yes. But for the sales process before we've had any contact with them, I don't believe in using automated. Thank you. That's a good clarification. And so according to the Brevet Group, up to 50% of sales go to who responds first. That's still a critical thing to think about is especially if you're using Thumbtack or something like that for a lead generation source. I think Thumbtack has a study that it's almost 80% of the sales go to who contacts the lead first through those lead generation sites. You know, well, because they're so fatigued by the number of calls, because like they literally like get hammered with calls like from 4 companies when you fill those things out. So so you need follow-up. So we talked about it, right? So in the simplest sense, studies show that up to 80% of sales still take at least 5 contacts. So for me, a contact is like a phone, a text, an email, seeing your Facebook ads after they visited your website. Those are all contacts. But 90% of sales still happen in part over the phone. So Brevet Group again. This is a form of sales automation that's in Made Central. That's the simplest form of automation that can be. It's just you haven't contacted this person or you haven't followed up with them yet, and it forces you to follow up with them. That's better than what 90% of us are doing anyway. They get a lead and it's probably on a piece of paper and you shuffle them around on your desk, and you can't do that anymore. You need some sort of way to remind you and pop this up. So this is how Made Central does it in the simplest form. In a more complex form is that it allows you to build blueprints of follow-up. And whatever you do, you need a blueprint. You need a consistent, reliable blueprint of how you're going to follow up with your leads. And again, ideally, they come into your CRM, and your CRM tells you, hey, you need to contact this person. So for us, immediately, Linda, so we actually send them we get a quote once a lead or a quote comes in. We send them a text immediately and say, hey, this is Katie from Better Life Maids. Is this a good time to call? And what that does is it does 2 things. Is it if they reply to it, it kind of puts them through the spam filter in an iPhone or their device, so that when you do call, some phones now block calls from companies the first time. So that kind of preempts that from getting blocked. So there's two reasons behind that. Did you have any other questions on that lead, Susan, while I'm on this slide you were asking about?
Yeah, I think most everybody really likes to talk to the people, Susan. We're all kind of on that same page, but it's not as easy as it once was to actually talk with someone. Yeah,
this new iPhone update makes it like really interesting, because like they will block your phone won't even ring to them. I'm not even sure it'll even go to voicemail.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah,
good to know, Matt.
I think you need to customize your service to your people when you are selling to them. You need to make your service as customized to that customer and that unique customer as you can, and create a unique scope of work for them as you can. So the more data you capture at that point is what you would use in the fulfillment process for better outcomes. So, we capture data all the way down to like the rooms and try and generate, allowed minutes and fees for rooms. We're doing things like capturing pet information, capturing things like, Tom, what are some other things you capture that are important? Like
people that live in the house, certainly, square footage. Actually, we have the ability to kind of customize that, and some people will capture, how much flooring is hard versus carpet. There's a lot of variations of that.
Yeah, and so
Matt, is there any way you can make this bigger? We can't really, or at least I can't really see this.
You mean with 2 monitors you can't see it?
Even on my 42-inch monitor,
it's what we'll do is, if people have more questions on seeing this, we'll look at the software a little under the hood.
Okay.
But other things we capture is preferences, like what time do they want service. Now, if we're going to do that, I think we should charge more for that. So if someone asks us if they want they want first in the morning, we can capture that preference. It'll create flags in our software if we're not meeting that preference. And, we'd like to charge more for that, for those sort of things. So
yes, thank you, Matt. I love that. I think that people get really hung up on, we don't do that. We don't do that. Y'all, if you can charge for stuff, be flexible. If you can create a system around it.
If you have a way to track it and fulfill it, yes. Now, if they don't have a way to keep that promise, then they should not do that. because broken
Agreed.
promises is worse than saying no. You want to say yes, Liz. I love that. I love that what you're saying. Find ways to say yes, and then find ways to charge for yes.
And
Yes, charge for it though.
and we've talked about this like over the years. One business model is to offer, say, 3 variations, and if somebody wants you to deviate on more than 3 things from SOP, you say that, well, we really can't do that. There was a time when that made a lot of sense. There was a time when the yellow pages made a lot of sense, but I think times are changing and consumers are expecting more. And technology is enabling us to do things that we couldn't do in the past. And in order to be competitive and to, again, the lifetime value of a customer, I think that, being more adaptive to doing these, a site-specific scope of work, I guess is kind of a nerdy term for it, but, give the customers what they want, and document it in the way.
But you made a really important point, Tom, that technology has advanced to the place that we can do a lot of this stuff reliably. Back in the day, 3 variations or 3 exceptions, you were going to fail. If you did anything more than that, you were going to let the customer down. But nowadays, we can do so much more, but we kind of get stuck in this old thinking.
You don't want to make promises. You don't want to make promises you can't deliver. But with today's technology, you can promise more than you used to.
Yeah.
So I went back a slide because what you talked about, because it got me thinking about this customer that used to have very specific notes. And we had like this long list of notes, and it became problematic because you'd have to read through the whole thing. And now actually with Made Central is like, actually, if I want to put detailed notes on like a certain bedroom, like this customer wanted certain lights off and certain lights on when we left, you can actually like put very detailed notes and even pictures of how this customer wanted the trash cans a certain way. And I mean, we charged them crazy money because they asked for all this stuff. And it was a very profitable job, but it was also stressful to the technicians because we didn't have all this technology to do this back then. So we're like, you have to spend 10 minutes reading the notes every time before you go in there. And that was part of how we used to bill them out. But, you want to track and celebrate success with your team. So, I think, having a way to share and visualize, how many recurring sales you've had, how many one-time sales you've had, that's really an important part of sales, and making that public through your company through some sort of dashboard would be something that I would highly recommend. And that gets into sales fulfillment. So all this stuff is great. You can build like a great mousetrap that brings you all the leads you want and you're closing all these sales. But, promises met, promises made, promises kept, times, teams, notes, access more. The promises you make during the sale need to match what's delivered to the customer, or else you will lose that customer. Maybe not the first time, maybe the second time, but they will not put up with it for very long. So this is why, these are all notifications from our system. That's like, we're not meeting some preference here. So this employee preference flag is not being met for these 2 customers. And these time preference flags are not being met. So these things need to be adjusted. It looks like we also have a couple houses outside of their notification windows. They've already been told something different and we've changed them. So we need to get back with these people and fix this, right? So this is going to help us meet promises. Or if we have variation, we should reach out to these customers and tell them why we're not meeting these promises at the very least. Would you agree? I mean, I think, if you can't meet it, like Sarah's off, she's on vacation. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I know you've requested Sarah. I got a notice that actually Sarah's off tomorrow. I just wanted to let you know your team is great. You have so-and-so. If we've put all the notes on there, they should do a great job for you. If you have any concerns about that, let me know. It'd be better just to get her rescheduled than to have her unhappy. As much as that's a pain in the butt, we don't want to do that stuff. It would be better, to keep that promise. So the next part of it is quality measurement. You cannot be afraid to ask your clients, your customers, whatever you call them, how things went, right? How many of you aren't even surveying because you're scared to know what your clients have to say? I think that's a very common theme. I hear people that are very successful and very large companies, but like when they get down to it, they're stuck in a place where like other companies have gotten past. And I feel like a lot of it is they're losing customers because they don't have a quality management system and measurement system in place. And quality management, quality measurement are critical to increasing the lifetime value of your clients and keep them longer. So you did all this job on fulfillment to hit those things. Now you should be asking them how it went, and make that part of your culture is to ask on every visit how it went. So, we had a 95.88% scorecard rating here. If you're using a 5-point system, that'd be roughly like a 4.8 with about almost a 50% response rate. So I know some of you get higher. For me, 50% is good. I can come up with good data based on 50% response rate. That tells me, what I need to know.
I do want to say that we're all going to have to be looking at how we're going to be modifying this. If you are sending out your daily scorecards every time somebody's clean, if you haven't gotten to that point yet, come on now, get on board. I know there's still a lot of people that are thinking, I don't want to bug my clients. That's too much. They're going to be hassled. Nope. Some of us have been doing it for a decade now, and it works. But things are changing in this area also. People are getting a little review weary. They're getting review fatigue. They're being asked to review every single thing. How many reviews do you get, review requests do you get a day now? I get 4, 5 a day sometimes. Everything I do, they want to request. They want to review. So we're going to have to all be looking for ways to get this measurement from them that they think it's valuable, that it's in their best interest, not in our best interest. A lot of times the message that we get is, I have to do this for you. So I'm really highly recommending to everybody that I'm working with right now, getting this message across to the customer. How is this for them, not for you? Yeah. So I just want to point that out real quick, because that's a key shift. A lot of times these subtleties make all the difference. It's the small stuff. That's
a good point. The next point, though, would be that the quality measurement is not just to get that data; it's to put it to use. So, and this is where it benefits them. So, what good is that data if it's not readily available? So, it needs to be integral part of sales fulfillment, so that every member of your team has it. So, the picture on the right is from one of our technicians' dashboards, where they have the job information on the left tab. On the right tab, they can look at the history of all the jobs that's ever happened, no matter who's been there. So it's not just their scores at that property, it's everyone. So if there's a problem the last time, they'll have that there. And then we visualize our scorecards everywhere. So on these little jobs, even on our dispatch board, we have, those little, it's hard to see in the image, but the little green square there is a little happy face, which is a thrilled. And so again, we're visualizing this data everywhere, so that if there are red flags, anything like that, we immediately do this, and we can create reports based on like last visits and upcoming jobs to make sure that we're hitting these things and really working hard on the customers that haven't been as happy, to either bring them up, or if they're going to be a drag on profits, maybe they're not a good fit, and bring them out. If you keep going to a house and that's very discouraging, and you're spending all this extra time, that's probably not a good fit. Unfortunately, I know Liz would probably tell me otherwise, but I would probably rather not have that customer and let them be happy elsewhere, at least in this particular market. It's very... Yeah,
I wouldn't say that. Right now, things are different. We can't even take on all the work that's coming our way. Absolutely. Don't be tripping over gold to pick up pennies. That's not smart. Susan, you have a schedule, you have it in ClickUp to call your clients. I'm guessing that's for response rate, to increase your response rate. That's awesome. And yeah, QDS going out. I'm guessing you're doing it weekly for everybody for the week. Yeah, that's a great strategy too, as long as everybody's getting it. Yeah, QDS has some awesome stats that you can watch that can really help you out. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and happy customers are what really drives sales. So perceived quality is directly related to meeting those expectations. And then, meeting those expectations is how you lower your client churn and increase the lifetime value. So, I see on this right-hand side, we've got a bunch of these inconsistencies. So, but if we're focused on consistency, that's probably the one measure that I think is probably the key to meeting expectations. So giving clients the same team, even though we don't promise that stuff, on the same day at a consistent time, all is possible. Even if we can't promise all those things, it really does actually reflect on keeping our clients longer term. And actually, I think it really helps keep your employees longer term too. If you're giving them inconsistent schedules, they're always working with different teams, they're being thrown all over the place, it's stressful. So consistency is actually winning for your customers, and it's a winning measure for your team members too. So I would say having tools to help you be consistent is going to help, again, with this really tough labor market, make the people you have feel better about their job. I mean, most of our employees grew up in homes where change was a bad thing, right? Like, oh, we're moving to a new house. It probably wasn't as nice as the one they were in before. Like whenever everyone says, hey, I've got this great new thing, it's a big change, you're gonna love it. Didn't always go that well when they were growing up. So for us to throw change at them, we think it's great. But change for them is oftentimes detrimental. So that can drag on your happy customers too, with unhappy employees. So,
and going along with what you're saying, Matt, I think a lot of times, especially new companies, they will focus on quality before anything. They think that quality is king, but really there's a lot of evidence, a lot of research out there that says consistency is king. Yeah. So consistency first and quality after that. That's your main thing, is that consistent burger. The reason why McDonald's wins in their market is not because their burger is the best. It's because it is consistent.
Exactly.
So don't forget that piece.
Yeah. So, measure and reduce client churn. That's important, right? So keeping clients longer means you make more money off of every sale, right? The old saying is that, you make more money from an existing client, and it's cheaper to market to an existing client than to go get a new client. If you think of every job you perform for a client as an ongoing sale, you're going to win, right? Because you're going to be keeping those customers. If you take the customers you have for granted and you're constantly losing them, that is a losing strategy. So, for the previous quarter, back to kind of more normal times here, we got it down below 2%, for our churn. Our revenue is horrible because of snow days and COVID cancels and all kinds of things. And our pre-COVID, that's almost half of our pre-COVID revenue right there. But I'll take it. We were still out there. We were still profitable, and we were adding jobs back on, and we're not losing customers out the backside. The difference between 1% improvement in churn can oftentimes double. Just think about that. That can double what a client is worth to you. The difference between 3% churn and 2% churn almost doubles the value of that customer. Takes it from, in my case, based on 166 per clean with an average of 1.75 per visits per month. Multiply that out by losing by the number of months they stay, which you can figure out by dividing 100 by your churn rate. So all you multiply those out. I'll give you the formula if you need it. That'll tell you how much a customer is worth over time. And for me, it's about roughly $15,000. But if I had a 3% churn rate, it's around $8,800. So not quite double, but it drastically increases what they're worth to you. So you're wasting money on all these sales processes if you're losing them out the back. So
I guess the important point is, if you aren't measuring it, you really can't manage it. And
it's true.
We work with a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses don't even track that metric.
Yeah, that's scary, because that's one of the number one metrics that I checked out every month to tell me whether I was successful the month before. So, I think that. Yeah, what's the old saying? What gets measured gets managed, right? So,
right.
I don't know who came up with that saying, but it's very true.
I think that was a Peter Drucker thing. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Yeah, that sounds like a Peter Drucker quote.
It does.
So problems to solve, right? So this is what we're kind of getting to, is have a compelling reason for people to choose your company and have them give you their information, right? Keep your sales process simple and consistent. Don't build an elaborate mousetrap. The sale just starts when you get their credit card. Fulfillment of the sale happens on every cleaning visit, and that's an ongoing part of the sale. Make sure you are able to fulfill the promises and customize the service you promised. And then if you're focused on activities that reduce churn and keep clients longer, each sale is worth more, and you can invest more in your marketing and sales activities and grow faster. And you're going to grow faster because you're putting more customers on, and you're losing less out the back, right? So you will grow. That's really what stops people from growing is churn. To be totally honest, churn is the number one reason the companies peak. So that's really it. We talked about this slide at the beginning, but this is why we just kind of refocus on it. Success lies beneath, right? We do these things to clean homes, and we do these other things to make profit. Same thing with the sales process, right? We need to be focused on the fulfillment and consistency to make sure we make more. So I have a pitch for you. If you want to copy, I guess I can copy this link and see if I can put it in.
I can paste it in the chat.
Yeah. So I am doing a webinar tomorrow on KPIs and using them to manage your business and effectively, control growth and use those KPIs to make predictable management decisions in your business. I'm going to try and connect the dots for you, make it as easy as possible. I would love it if you actually came, asked questions, and were there to learn. I think it'd be awesome. If you want to learn more about how I run my business and learn about Made Central, you're welcome to schedule a one-on-one demo with me at madecentral.com. And I will be doing a group demo the following week, but you're only going to find out about that if you come to the KPI webinar. So join me for the KPI webinar. And if you want to jump on a Made Central demo sooner, go ahead. I've got a little bit of availability left this week. We could show that to you as well.
Matt, are you ever going to change that time frame so that it doesn't compete with the MMA groups? Because that would be awesome.
I can look at that. That
would be so awesome.
You have coaching calls all day though, Liz. I don't know how I can.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can.
No, but the MMA, I want those people to be able to go. Those people are, they're committed. They will show up. Look how many MMA people we have on this call today.
Well, have them do
they'll show up.
Have them do one demo, and then we can, if they've got a couple friends that want to have one of them schedule a one-on-one demo with me, and then if they want to invite a couple friends, I will make it a personalized group demo for a few of them. Okay, so that's how we'll get around that.
All right.
Give them a day off so they can do something fun.
Yeah. They are doing something fun. You're forgetting that part.
Tom,
they like what they're doing.
I love my.
So what you're saying is you're not going to practice what you preach right here. I'm going to have to change my thing. Right? The customers are going to have to just adapt.
I'm customizing. Right? I'm customizing it for them by giving the madecentral.com link.
All right, that is good. And you are saying that you're going to give me like a one-on-one type thing. I kind of like that.
If they want to invite a couple friends, just
TJ saying, pick me.
Come on, TJ. So come on to it. Invite a couple friends. I've got a couple more. I've got a little bit of availability later in this week.
Not tomorrow. You have forum tomorrow.
Forum tomorrow. I don't even know what I have tomorrow.
It's TJ. Tomorrow is it's a requirement. They can't miss, or they will have to.
Well, I would say I will record this and I will share it with your group, Liz. Okay. So if they can't make it, but it's more, these things are always more fun live. They are really, it's just like coming to this.
I know, but getting a recording, the thing that's really nice about that is you can fast forward through too.
Yeah, it's true.
And then they can call you and get a one-on-one. So yay. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Awesome. Don't worry. We got it, TJ.
You can take back the share and if we got the links out there.
But Matt, maybe you could show, there were a couple of those screens that I really would have liked to have been able to see more.
Oh, sure. Let me escape out of this.
Yeah, just show the Made Central piece, just the window. I know we don't have a lot of time, but.
No, I got a.
Oh, yeah, this one right here.
So
this is one of my favorite.
This is one. Yeah, this is a report kind of built off of one of our users' requests, and really, it kind of shows the power of like the smart thinkers in the Made Central group, right? Like, we're not going to take every idea, but man, when people come up with good ones, we're gonna implement it and make it happen. And this was a good report, and it shows, a lot of things, all of the things, even revenue, payroll to revenue, right? Cleaning hourly rate.
Some of the things.
Can you blow it up? We really can't see it.
Oh,
Can
my
anybody
goodness.
else see this? Is this just me?
That's a full screen. We might have to get rid of our face. So what Tom could do is get rid of our faces and blow it up.
If you do, yeah, and if you do Control Plus, you might be able to get a little more.
You can zoom in a little bit, Matt.
I mean, it's already pretty big. I'm looking out on a 27-inch screen. I guess I'll zoom in a little bit and see if that helps a little bit. But yeah, so I'll go.
I can read this now. I can see revenue, customer count, payroll to revenue. There we go. I can see it now.
So, the big ones for me are payroll to revenue. All right. Keeping that around 36%, but really 38%. 38% I'm fine with, but this is great. An extra 1%, 1.5%. That's money in my pocket. And yet my technicians are still making pretty good money, averaging over $19 an hour, $19.55 last week. That's before tips. That's before bonuses. That's before, they're doing all right, so,
is that per labor hour or is that working hour?
That's for every hour they work. That's clock in to clock out.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are spending a lot of time tracking, their drive time and all that little stuff, trying to change out weight and stuff.
This is one report, and then another report that I kind of showed before was the sales KPIs a bit. So I'm kind of nervous to look this week because we haven't really been selling because we have no availability. So I'm pulling up live data, and I'm probably going to be embarrassed by how bad it is this week. But we'll see. Sometimes
everybody loves live data, Matt. That's awesome.
Well, it's going to be a surprise to me. Oh, good. We've actually netted a customer, and yet
there you go.
We still lost $200 per week though, because the customers we lost were probably more valuable than what you gained. Than what we gained so far, right? So sometimes that's an important thing. Like we're all focused on customer counts in our business, but sometimes customers aren't all built equally. We lost an every 2-week customer worth $223 of cleaning. So that hurts a little bit, right? Like so the stuff we've added has not been as valuable as the stuff we've lost. This report has some scorecard stuff built in. It has some lead conversion. Our lead conversion is super low because the numbers don't track the website sales. It's only tracking the phone calls. So all these ones in yellow aren't getting tracked. And if you can look, what's going on, guys? I'm selling way more online than I am over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like way more.
We see that happening all over the place, and that ratio seems to get bigger as time goes on.
So my internal staff are making only 8% conversion lead to sale. That's way different than the truth. So this report needs to probably eventually be a separate report for just web traffic, but we haven't built that yet. But it's going to happen. It's just that's coming. Some sourcing, not a whole lot of different sources this week. I need to parse mine out a little bit better as far as that goes. I do some more advanced stuff with my marketing agency, so I don't really look at this as much as some people, but you can parse out your lead sources better than I do here. And I can see who's making my sales through the software. But the truth is my website's making most of my sales these days.
That's awesome. Worth the money.
What else did we want to look at? Do we want to?
How about Spotlight Dashboard? I saw you had that up for half a second, I think.
I think I have it over here open. Yeah. So Spotlight Dashboard, I'll zoom it in a bit. Like I said, we got crushed last quarter, but our efficiency factor was good. Our recurring service sets are different than client counts. We have a lot of customers, like commercial customers, that have a lot of service sets. So this number is not your customer count. My customer count's probably a little different than that. I will show you, this is my favorite report that tells me that I'm winning on sales, that we didn't talk about this at all. And this actually helps you forecast how many employees you need. And honestly, I think, Tom, we should really talk about building a KPI report based on a couple of these working together to forecast employee hiring needs and things like that. But this service set tracker report is my favorite report to look at, to really tell me if I'm winning over the course of a month. This takes a minute to load because there's quite a bit of data here. But this is, I think, one of my favorite reports as far as a sales related report. My favorite report is the rate increase report and just being able to add, charges to people with a click of a button. But so this report tells me how many, weekly, biweekly, monthly service sets that I started with, and then totals it, and then also totals how many jobs per week I'm doing. So, you can see we're trending up. We've added 11 customers so far this month, and then six jobs per week has been added. And if you think about it, right, your employees probably clean on average between 8 and 10 jobs per week. So for every, you have your number based on how many your employees average out. When you sell a certain number of cleanings per week, you need to hire somebody, right? So basically somewhere around 8.5 to 9 for us, depending on how well things are going. And really it's closer to 9 for us right now because we're not taking any much one-time work. But we're basically in need of hiring one more person just based on sales so far this month. Does that make sense? Does that kind of in line with your guys thinking on, an employee can clean, 2 jobs a day? We get a little more than that out of our employees. It's more like 2.25, to be honest. But, we're very efficient. We're very productive. So that might not be everybody.
I feel like that's really easy. Like that's an easy way to be looking at it for sure. I think a lot of people really struggle with, how do I know when it's time to hire, especially if they're, smaller, or in the valley of despair, especially, I guess.
The thing about this stuff is this stuff makes me more money than all my sales activity. The data that I use to predict like what, there's this rate report could be related to sales, and we might want to look at it. We might not, but the reason that that's an important thing to look at against sales is that it's not the sales you make, it's the sales you make that make you the most money, right? It's not about just putting on vanity metrics.
And it's that whole concept, and I guess the fancy term for it is digital transformation. We have the ability with technology to do things today that we couldn't do in the past. And, sometimes we have a hard time as business owners catching up with that. We're doing a lot of things here by capturing data at the lowest levels. The cleaning professionals are doing all their time tracking, and all the customer interaction and all the sales and all that's being managed in one platform. When you pull all that together in one database in real time, you're able to do all this cool stuff. And you really, just physically from a technology standpoint, we wouldn't have the ability to have done this too many years ago.
Yeah, true.
We are at the top of the hour though.
Yeah. So if they want to see some of that stuff, they'll see it in the demo tomorrow. So why don't we save it for that and kind of stay on track on your guys' time.
Sure. Matt, thank you. This was fun. Appreciate your help and participation today. We will be back Monday. Do we want to talk about, changes in the workforce and how we need to be? We'll have an agenda for next week before we get to next week. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
But we will be here Monday, 5 o'clock Eastern. That I promise you. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.